I'm back inside. I'm kind of stuck here now that I have to plug it in. Oh, look, it's already charged enough. I could go back outside. Oh, man, it's 2:34. Things are lining up, huh? Was processing something and realized, and we'll probably express this in writing too, thought of a shirt that needs to be done after a statement yesterday. Void. Void knows. We don't want to hear it all at once. We cannot hear it all at once. We can't. Our head would explode. Trust me, I've gotten close enough. Just kidding. I'm going to learn until my last breath. And right at that last breath, I'm not going to be open to learn anything else. I'm just going to sit and be. This whole life has been remain open, learn as much as you can. It was my own personal race somehow. And there are days when I don't learn anything, but even then, when I learn something silly and new, it tickles me. It's not a negative for me. I'm open to learn anything new. That excites me. And one day I said, flippantly, I'll be learning to the day I die. And I realized, wait a minute, on that day, at least take a moment to just sit and be. I will not be in a hospital. I will be outside by a river, ideally. I want my last breath to be by the river. Anyways, I realized on a lot of my writings that they're in very many layers. A lot of times 4. This number 4 is a very fascinating number to me. And it's often multiplied. 12. Blah, blah, blah. Once I found that balance, all that math stuff made so much more sense. All the physics. I was spatially challenged before that. Man, I could pack a bag, let me tell you. I can pack a bag real good now. Very little clothing, switch it all out. 2 hoodies, 2 pair of pants. Simplistic as I can be when I'm content. My point, the layers of the writing. Those that only see the surface for right now, they're getting that surface knowledge. Those that have gone a little deeper are getting it a little deeper. Those that have already gotten it, they're getting it really deep. Okay? And the 4th one is always mixed with what is going on right now with souls that are right outside of us chatting away. Whether they've blocked or not, I don't know. I haven't even bothered to look. Or maybe, just maybe, they're listening. And I stoked up my fire. And I'm making a little bit more noise. So maybe, just maybe, anyone lost in the woods, feeling lost in the woods, because nobody's really lost. You're on your path that you created. How could you be lost, right? When Daniel first did the meme for, or no, it was my friend Lori that did the meme for The Wizard of Oz. How could she be lost? There's only one path, and then Daniel, the song for Over the Rainbow. We're not lost. We feel lost. And that is a real true feeling. Oh my God, to just not know, to bounce around in the dark. I've played around in void long enough to constantly see, always to see, with a flashlight-sized circle. The missing items one that happened when I arrived at the destination, and it's always very much like Iron Man, it feels like. Again, a feeling, because it's just my essence floating around, really. Or I'm not even leaving, it's just in my head. But yet, can connect with these details that help the situation. I remember clearly sensing it was a long wall. I could sense the extreme long of it. It didn't seem right for a house, it was too long. But I was in a house and it was a wall. And the circle of light that radiates off of us to allow us that view, and only that view in those moments, so that we don't get all of it all at once. It would be overwhelming. I kept feeling the wall, and it felt like birch bark, it felt like birch bark. I've already expressed this in writing, so I'll keep it short. Could sense the item was on the other side of this wall. Could sense it wasn't malicious. They had just forgotten. They found it and they had forgotten. And then encouraged in the space. Remember, this is here. Come in this room and move things around. Remember, this is here. The person that it belongs to is missing it. It was a helmet, a fireman's helmet. 2 weeks later, they got a hold of the fire department, and indeed, they had forgotten. They found it on the side of the road. They'd forgotten. And get this, they lived on Birch Street. That's how it's shown in void. It's not shown specifically. So many people worry about being seen naked. I don't even see bodies all the time. I suppose I do sometimes, and they're enclosed because I'm seeing a scene of a missing person or an event that happened recently with a gentleman looking in on his cousin. The missing person of my, that her friend was missing, her ex-boyfriend was missing, rather. Nobody had heard from him. And I innocently stepped into that one. That was my first one. I did not expect to see what I saw. I did not even know all of that was possible, let alone, experiencing what I saw. And further innerstandings on a psychological side, my main base of field of why so many are hurting, because I could tell his tape just went over and over everything someone else said to him, his dad, his coach, the bully, over and over and over and over, and it just kept repeating. That was all that was repeating in this man's mind in his last moments even. And that is not my world. I don't live like that. There was a time when I woke up every morning imagining bashing the person's head in that hurt me. That was my own, and that was my own, right? But to see somebody else's, I had never experienced any of those things that I was sensing off of what his father said, or the coach said, or the bully said, or the locker room talk and all that. I had never experienced any of those things. So it was not mine. I've had my own, I faced my own, and I no longer wake up that way. I wake up ready to greet the day. I wake up excited that life is happening. I've let that go. Although I did have a moment very recently when I wrote it all out. The day before, I had seen in meditation the very film strip that I saw the very first time I ever went into meditation with my teacher, in fact. The same film strip was below my feet. That same film strip. The fun around here. Sorry, I clicked it in the response. That film strip was whole and lots of faces, lots and lots of faces. It was very much like Facebook when you scroll, but the pictures were bigger. It wasn't, their status and their profile picture. It was just the pictures, a film strip, just forever. But it was also, another film strip was of my own. And the day before, I wrote out one of the chapters of my life that is very difficult to express. I saw that film strip just dissolve in. So funny, there's noise everywhere. If I go outside, somebody's mowing their lawn. And in here, the children are running. I'm almost done with the thought, so I'm just going to finish up and I'll have to accept the real of life. The film strip was dissolving. It disintegrated, it burned almost into nothingness. And I remember writing that out and clearly seeing in the meditation, like, how cool was that? It was like everything old just disappeared, just dissipated, right, into nothingness. And then I innocently sat to talk about another experience, and that led to one of the biggest releases I had from my own stuff that I was holding in. I'm not going to express that entire experience, but unbeknownst to me, I had gone to a massage class. It was more applying oils class. I already knew the information, but somebody else was interested in the knowledge, and we were supposed to switch applying the oils. And because you're putting the oils on, you're getting all those oils in your body. But I didn't realize the woman that was, holding the class was a healer, and she placed intent for that release, and I didn't get a heads up. And by the time I got home, all of it was just releasing. Anyways, during that release, I saw all of it instead of being blind to all of it because I had blocked it away. And I was typing that out and it really hit me hard. And that night I was like, I need some happy. I'd already tried to dance. I had a half a glass of wine. I lie not. It was only a half a glass of wine. My tolerance is so low. I was really tipsy. And then I had another, I filled it up and then I drank that whole glass. And I did my old pattern. When I woke that next day, I felt like an idiot. Like, why did I do that again? And then I remembered. I thought, great, well, maybe I'm not even healed all the way. I re-triggered again just from writing it out. I hadn't cried about it in a long time. I can talk about it and it doesn't bother me. Why all of a sudden, writing it out, why did that happen? Well, I faced it one more time. Maybe it isn't gone. Maybe it will pop back up. I do know I'm a lot further than I was even 5 years ago, a lot further than I was for sure 10 years ago, a hell of a lot further than I was 20 years ago. I mean, that person, I don't even recognize who that person was. And along the way, there's a lot of tests, a lot of facing, a lot of layers I had to face. Again, I expressed it in the other video I just made. If this simple I can do this and get this far, am I healed completely? Maybe not. At the same time, if it does happen again, I can address it. I just spoke about it all and it didn't bother me at all. Not one bit. Like it's old, gone and nothing. Although it's still here because I'm stating it, so it's obviously still going to be here. It's part of who I am. I have to embrace that as opposed to run from it. And for a long time, I ran from it. But I can't run anywhere. None of us can run away from our own brains. So when we look inward and we love it, and that's why I even bother with the writings. Maybe we'll help one more. Yes, maybe even on that surface level, that's okay. And the deeper we go, it still makes sense. So many people say, and I don't even realize it's happening, that they have to reread the readings when I type out readings from people, for people, of what is sensed, what was blocked, whys, all these things. Saging, encouraging energy flow. They always, for one, say they always feel amazing after, and they often jump up and they're walking around outside. When, one lady, it was her daughter too, and she had clearly stated her daughter hadn't left her room in days. And for whatever reason, shortly after that, the daughter wanted to leave her room and they went for a walk. Like I'm innocently just doing what is led over here, what is sensed, what is whatever. And then these things are happening over there. And oftentimes they're responding with these amazing results, whether it's my back pain or just went away, or a pop in my whatever, and I feel so much better. My knee doesn't hurt anymore. It's weak, but it's moving, it's warm, my toes are warming, things like that are stated. So I know this, is real. Another friend at one point when I was doing a lot of practicing, she would write and say a friend of hers was in a car accident. Um, brain swelling, massive brain swelling. Another friend before that for traumatic brain injury, she also got oils, so I didn't know about the energy as much. I mean, that whole doubting Thomas, I knew about energy. I didn't have proof of it, right? And how can I know that energy alone helped the decrease of her brain swelling so they didn't have to do the surgery? Because she also used oils that by chance my dad had and was in town. So maybe it was a combination of both, I thought. Well, then I was presented with yet another experience and another, and they didn't have oils. And the other person, who's third party to me, I'm not even chatting with this person, is telling my friend to tell me, whatever you're doing, continue it because it feels amazing. Okay, here I go. It's about all I can do. That's why I keep sharing in these layers. That's why I keep sharing in riddle almost. Because even if I told you straight up, like I have been in some of these videos, it's too much for a lot of people. And like they often say, I have to reread and reread because it's so, dense. People that are very much open the way I am often say, it's like your work is a university level. I feel like I'm still in kindergarten. And I think to myself, well, no, honey, you are this too. That's why I'm sharing it. But I have to remember, you know, the surfaces. I see the entire iceberg all at once. And it's all beautiful. It's all so beautiful. And we all have to break apart all those and become water, as so many wise people have shared. Second video of today, they're replicating. And ironically, one flashed through that I wanted to stop and redo the concept of the visual of the heart center. And then I realized, even as I was talking, I already made the video. So here we go. We're going to keep going with this video stuff. I haven't got my hair done in a long time, so it's just a fuzzy mess right now. And it's only a mess to me. It needs to be cut and shaped. At the same time, I don't even mind this at all. I'm, over this time, found the courage to even do these things. And, society, you have to have it all put together. The queen code all doing her, and she's got her tiaras in the back and everything. And I'm just not that person. I can be a simple queen. I love that my crystals are in front of me. I love that I'm on my couch. I love that I can just be myself and wear one of two hoodies that I own and that be okay. uh, I'm nothing special. I'm just like everybody else. I'm just a small part of helping to remind in a slightly different voice. I remember clearly, I'm going to share this and then I'm going to close. I remember clearly accidentally happening upon Eckhart's book on Now, some time ago now, 8-9 years ago, I guess, 8 years ago. And I remember reading his voice and having understanding and being able to learning how to let go of things when I felt the tightness in my belly, and then to let it roll around as like a ball and let it go out my breath. I did it that way to the earth. My teacher always told me over and over again, uh, so that it can regrow something beautiful. Okay, we can fertilize and regrow. We're out to the sun and it can burn it away. Either direction one might want to go. I had a point. Oh, when I think to myself, excuse me, I'm going to cough. When I think to myself, why am I even bothering? So many people have already said all of this. I'm just repeating a lot of what they said, but then a lot of it comes with experience, that maybe this experience can help. More importantly, it's also this cognitive hypnotherapy side, so that you can see how to go in and do all this yourself. And you control it all. And I record each one, so there's no funny business going on. It's not like I'm under there going, hey, give me all your dog biscuits. There was a cute little video about that. The cat's all massaging the dog. That's the fear that comes in. People that don't want to harm, I don't want to harm, I want to help. So in those moments of people's fear coming up, I would learn along the way, well, how can I help, settle that fear? Well, if you record it and they listen, they can hear there's no funny business. I remember everything my teacher said. She wasn't sneaking anything in. I could clearly feel and sense both sides, the out there and the here. My soul playing, but my body there. Even though I couldn't feel my body, I could sense the space and hear her words just fine. I would have known if there was funny business going on. But there's a lot of fear associated with it. And it's because some people do use it for a negative, and so that's completely warranted. But for this manner, it's not for that. It's to help people go way deep and look at it and rearrange and sweep and dust and sage, and if they choose to. I suppose I'm expressing why I even do any of this, and that's the only reason why I'm expressing. It's almost 3 o'clock here, 2:54, and I've already worked out a little bit today and done the dishes and cleaned up this or picked up that and tidied this around my physical home which needs to be done every day, along with all this other. And again, I expressed it in the other video. If this simple balancing all of this person can do the same, so can anyone. Okay? And us women, we have a little bit of extra challenge with that. If you've got little ones, be careful or be gentle with yourself. It's okay you don't have as much time right this second. I had no choice in the matter because he didn't sleep, but more than 45 minutes at a time. Um, but I had my own lesson I had to get through. I had to prove to myself that instead of painting, which at the time was my go-to, or even playing those stupid games online, because I was nursing so often, I was sitting there so much, I can only stare at him so much, I can only read so many books. I would be buying so many books, and I did on the Kindle, and I read so many, and I played games and had a whole farm, and wonder if they're all dead. At the same time, I also fit in meditation and Facebook and time with my husband and gardening, although that particular year we didn't really have a garden. I had a few herbs going, but that was about it. That particular area had to, lag behind. We didn't really go out anywhere. Even food, if we did eat out, we brought it home because it was easier. He was very much a go, 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 go child from the very beginning. Still is. So I had to tweak things, but all of those led to where I needed to be. He needed to be at home more instead of the stimulation of the world. He needed quiet and time. We needed together to face all of it. We needed everything that happened in our world, just as everything that's happening in your world is going to do the same. Anything that's frustrating you needs to be faced. And as soon as it's faced, you've weeded through all of it and and you're done. If you don't want to weed through it, that's just as equally okay, but you'll have to accept it. You have to accept that you're doing it to yourself. One thing I notice in myself, because I can get very messy and my stuff just kind of spreads. I'm looking at my office space. It's somewhat tidied up, back up because I'm taking a moment of a break from it. It starts to get scattered. So I have to, retidy again because I'm replicating all these things. All of it's just growing, these, roots and the webs and, like it's all everywhere. And then I have to tidy it into this thing to present. And, you know, it's inevitable for life to be messy. Then we have to take this moment and situate it back together again. And every time I do that, I can breathe again. And then new inspirations are flying through and flying through and flying through. But when that chaos stays in that same manner, I'm only focusing to that last project. When I clear the old projects, instantly the new projects that are right before me, even if they're attached to the last one, effortlessly just continue to spread, right? So it's the same thing with my home. We've recently thought we were going to move, and we may still. I don't know. Either way, I'm going on vacation. But boxes started to gather. I literally could not breathe in the space. It just gets clogged. So if your space is that way, it's often a good indicator as well that that's how our space in our head works or is. I've already downsized my personal things, and I live with 3 other people. So I can't force them to do the same. I'm not going to make them get to where I am. I can't. That's impossible. So if they're not ready to give up a toy or whatever, no amount of me insisting is going to help. I hear so many parents, I just sneak it out when they're not seeing. Mine notice, and then they have, they bring it up to me still to this day, these few things that I wound up just, well, I didn't think you played with that. Whatever. My children are different, and I'm not going to force or control this on this level. So they do have more boxes than I do. I literally could fit most of my stuff in a matter of 2 boxes, and that's clothes, everything, and shoes. Not a small box, 2 large boxes. I'm not saying 2 small boxes or anything, but truly I could fit everything I personally would like to keep for myself in 2 boxes. And they probably have 4 or 5, toy-wise and whatever. So I can't control that amount of clutter that's in the house, but I can keep a certain space of my own in a certain order, and they've noticed it for their own rooms. People can only notice it for themselves. And just like with them, when I help the little one clean up, instantly he makes a whole new scene. And they don't necessarily want it empty. They want a scene there. Well, once the scene has been trashed and clothes have been thrown and, let's clean it all up for a minute, and then instantly he's got a whole new one developing, which is amazing. Animal habitats to anything and everything we have around here. But, if it's in his room, I don't see it. Out in this living room space, which is my office space, is very important. And it does get cluttered, so take a moment, clean it back up. That's all we can do. And literally, it is moments. It's 15, 20 minutes, and it all feels so much better. Do yourself a favor if that is a struggle for you. And when it was a real bad struggle for me, body broken, mind broken, at my lowest, it was impossible feeling the way my house had gotten. Just stash it here, stash it there. Wasn't necessarily trash or anything like that, but it was definitely stuff, gifts I received and still had from when I was 16, through 20, whatever. And I remember reading a magazine that said just start in one corner and work your way around the room. And more importantly, if your body's hurting or you have children or you work full time or da 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 da, set a timer. Get as much done as you can in an hour, even if you're interrupted from a child, and just be happy with that. The next day, do another hour. The next day, another hour. And I tell you, that really freaking worked. Within a matter of 2 weeks, I had addressed every corner, and I lived in a small place, so take that as you will for your own space. This home here, it's so vast, really. It's way too much. My husband wanted to provide, and we couldn't find a smaller house in a location we really liked. So there's not a lot of clutter on a matter of space, but clutter happens because homeschool stuff and projects and painting, and it just all really gathers quickly. And then we take a moment and we clean it all up. That's what just has to happen. But back when I wasn't as able, it did collect, and then my mind started to not like it even more. And what is within is also without. And even though clutter might happen, I don't have as much clutter in my head anymore, so much as life is happening. Like I'm looking at batteries that I needed for my camera. Life is happening. It just happens. My water sitting there, a pen, and then handcuffs, and it's all around my grid of crystals, not mine. The life just happens. So that's not necessarily clutter. Just discern between the two. Do your best every day, and do a little every day if you need to get somewhere. And truthfully, if we notice we don't have to get anywhere, and in full acceptance of what it is, then it's already done. And ironically, if it is bothering you, then in those next moments you'll start taking care of it. Because your soul knows it's what you need to do. And everybody already knows what they need to do. Nobody needs someone else to tell them. But yet, that continuously happens. It's 3:03. On that note, much love, precious treasures. I see art, and I just know so many more are seeing it too.